Good morning. Day 24 of our 30-day challenge in the art of allowing. And today I want to discuss something that is connected to allowing, but it's not directly allowing, and it's asking. And the reason I want to talk about this is because I noticed that we tend to ask less questions as we become more adult-like. If you notice kids, they always ask. Are we there yet? And as adults, because we've been rejected so much, or because we've been told no or ignored, we just stop asking. The curiosity doesn't leave, but we just stop asking. Even in our groups, I noticed that people have questions, and they'll ask me when I call them. They'll ask when they're in a private session, or they'll even ask through a proxy, hey, why don't you ask him this? Or why don't you ask this person this? Or they'll just Google it. And we do the same thing with God. We say we trust God, but we never ask God first. We ask God last. And I'm not talking about money or blessings. I'm talking about any and everything you can imagine. Okay? You ask Google, you ask your friends, you ask your mentors, you ask social media, but when was the last time you asked God first? God, I'm starting this day and I just feel confused. What should my next move be? We ask God last, second, third, when everything else fails. We finally think, let me ask God and see what my next move should be. This requires something deeper than just regular trust. I think it's a level of humility, admitting that we don't know. And this is part of that childlike innocence, that childlike curiosity that we as adults, we tend to lack. Because Jesus said it. Ask and you shall receive. Knock and the door will be open. There was never any guidelines on what to ask for. So I'm going to assume that we should ask for any and everything we can. And notice, ask, seek, knock. Just take a look at that progression. And this is Matthew 7:7. That should be an easy one for everybody to remember. For me, 7:7, Matthew 7:7. Ask and you shall receive. Or it says, ask and it shall be given. Seek and you will find. And knock and it will be open to you. Now, there's nowhere here that is promising that every answer would appear instantly. But the promise is made that those who seek will find. And I don't think this was a game. It's not a trick. It's not saying that you seek, and you'll never find. I think that'll be a sick trick. Why are we waiting to the last minute to ask? Why are we waiting to the last minute to look for the solution, to knock? Because I think some of us, and I'll speak for myself maybe, we secretly believe that we can solve these problems on our own. It's too little for God. I got it. I've talked about the different seasons that I've dealt with personally in business, in my family, and my growth as a person. And along the way, I met some serious obstacles, serious challenges that made me question things. And I'll admit, I didn't go to God until I couldn't figure it out. And I just asked God a simple question. What is this season trying to show me? What part of me needs to be developed in this season of challenge, of obstacles, of difficulty? Who do I need to become to master this season? That was it. And it was revealed to me, not instantly and not when I wanted it, but it came to me. And I think if I wouldn't have asked those questions, I would have struggled. And the difference between asking a question and receiving, versus trying to figure it out on your own, you still might have the problem, but now you've got a solution. Or now you know that the person that has allowed, or the force that has allowed the problem, has something in mind for you that you got to figure out to become a better person, to become a better father, a leader, whatever it is. And so today I want to encourage everyone to ask. Throughout Scripture, we see that people are asked the famous question, if you know me, that I love to ask people: what do you want? And I think part of the reason we don't ask is we don't even know what we want. You do not know what you want half the time. Think about it. Just ask yourself. You're going through problems, you're suffering, you're struggling. What do you want? People call me sometimes. I just need some money. Okay, here's $1. Leave me alone. Imagine what they're saying to God. God, please bless me. Give me what do you want? How big? How large? How much? Quantify it. Color it out. You look in the Old Testament. What shall I give thee is what Solomon said. You look at Jesus. He asked questions, what do you want? And the question was never because there was information missing or there was no knowledge of what was going on. It was an invitation. The question was an invitation to you, to them, to me, to ask. An invitation to become conscious of what was already yours, what was in your heart. Because before you ask something, it's there. You just don't have the courage or the humility to let it out. And bigger than that, it's an invitation to participate in a divine connection. Having a relationship with God, having a relationship with the source of creation, that's a privilege that most people don't take advantage of. Imagine if God were in your prayers. When you actually knelt down, when you closed your eyes, imagine that God was actually listening to you every single time. How would that transform your relationship? When you call me, when you call your wife, when you call your husband, when you call a friend, you know they're there. Now, when you're calling someone who has the financial capacity or the resources, you know they got it. The posture is very different than someone who you're not sure. So knowing the infinite capacity of God, why would you call God and not ask? Why would you not ask God for everything? Is there too much that you can ask? Once we get clear, you got to ask. I think it's James. And James, I believe, was the half-brother of Jesus. And James said, you ain't got it because you're not asking. Paraphrasing, you have not because you ask not. And I think after that he said, because you ask with evil intentions and motives. So today, day 24, as part of our allowing, because sometimes you just get stuck. All you got to do is ask. So before you ask anybody else for help, for where your keys are, for what you should do today, for who you should call, for how much you should price the property, for how much you should price the car, for how much you should price the equipment, the clothes, the goods, ask God. Ask God first. And guess what? You might have to ask more than once. You might have to ask in a state of confusion, in a state of desperation. You might have to ask while distracted. But it's better than not asking at all. Ask. What am I not seeing right now? Where am I trying to control instead of trust? What lesson is hidden in this current situation, in this current season? What should I focus on right now? What should I focus on next? Right now, I'm going through this situation. What am I being called to release? What am I being called to grab hold of? What gift have you already put in front of me that I keep overlooking? What gift have you put inside of me that is yet to be revealed? These are some important questions that we need to think about every day, every time we get stuck. And then after you ask, do the one thing that a lot of people don't do. We say our prayer, amen, and leave. Instead of doing that, when you ask, be still. Stay silent and just listen. Ask, seek, listen, and then allow. Because there's some things that you're carrying today that you have not genuinely brought before God. There are some problems, some relationships, some requests, some burdens that every single day you are carrying that thing on a Frontier flight and paying extra baggage fees. And all you had to do was let God check it in for you. You're asking everybody, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your wife, your sister, your brother, your husband, your dog, and then you ask God. So think about this. If God could answer just one question for you today, what would you ask? And that's going to reveal a lot about your motives, your trust, because you might ask something that you consider to be of higher magnitude versus something as simple as, what should I do? Who should I be? And what if the answer is already present and you've just been too busy to hear it? Ooh, she didn't like that one. The answer is right in front of you, but you're too busy to hear it. You're too busy to see it. And sometimes it just starts with seeking God for a relationship, not a solution, just to be in the presence of. So this might be about prayer, whatever you want to call it. Prayer is a form of asking. But keep in mind that when we ask, we're not informing God of something that God doesn't already know. Prayer is more so us revealing something to God within ourselves and positioning ourselves to hear what God has already said to us, what God has been saying all along. I truly believe that every prayer is answered. And if that weren't the case, I don't know why Jesus would say so. I believe Jesus was not a liar. Jesus said, ask and you shall receive. Now, he didn't say what you receive, but I'm led to believe that you're going to receive something. So today, before you take on anything of significance, just ask and wait. And we've talked about waiting. Waiting does not mean doing nothing. Waiting is about your posture. Waiting is about allowing. Waiting is saying, while I'm anticipating a response, I am going to be busy doing what God has directed me to do. Case in point, Noah's Ark. And I love using Noah because we just read Genesis in our fellowship group, and because it's a perfect example of somebody who was patiently waiting but kept doing. What was he waiting for? He was waiting for what God promised. God promised that there's going to be a storm that he's going to need to build a boat. What does he do in the meantime? Work. Do the thing that's going to prepare you for the place that God is taking you. So what was the thing? Build the boat. Same thing with your boy Abraham. God told him, I'm going to make you a nation. I'm going to make you a lot of kids. You're going to be having kids left and right. Now, he could have just sat there and waited and done nothing. But what did he do? He continued to build his empire. And he built his empire to the point where he was like, hey, God, I've done the work that I was supposed to do. Now you do the part that you were supposed to do by giving me the blessing. Give me the kid. And that's where we need to be. I truly, truly, truly believe that God has revealed something to all of us about what we're supposed to do, who we're supposed to be. And there's a divine timing between who we are today and who we're supposed to be. And it's called a gap. And in that gap is the development process, is the preparation process. Think about it. Abraham had to amass all of this stuff because back then, if you're blessed with a lot of kids and you got no land, you got nothing for them to do, it's almost a burden. You got 11 kids, 12 kids, and no property, no inheritance. That's not a blessing. But guess what? Think about the opposite. I got all this land. I got all these cows, sheep, nobody to continue. There's no continuity. Now I got the kids. And so in your life, maybe there's something that you need to be doing while you wait. You've asked God to give you something or God to show you something. In the meantime, wait. And waiting is not passively waiting. You actively wait and demonstrate your faith. So that's all we got for today. This art of allowing has really, really impacted my life. I see opportunities and I'm constantly asking myself, am I being a prisoner of this emotion? Or am I allowing it? Am I forcing an outcome? Am I putting in my own personal preference? Or am I just letting God reveal life and let it unfold the way it wants to? It's been a very, very challenging 24 days. I've had moments where I just sit there and I think, okay, where's this going? And then I remember, it doesn't matter where it's going. That's the whole thing about trust. I gotta trust where it's going. I don't know what tomorrow holds. And so far, every single opportunity that has come my way, every single distraction, every single so-called bad news, it's worked out. So if I'm going to look at God and look at the past as a predictor of the future, God is winning at 100%. And so today I encourage you, ask, trust, allow. I promise you, look at God's track record. God is winning. And if God is winning and you're on that team, you're winning too.